Well, when I came here, I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to do this. But when I saw there weren't enough people, I thought, I could tell a story. But I think there's still some more slots, so if anyone wants to make me not the last story, I would appreciate that.
We actually had 7, but...
Oh, we had 7, never mind! No more stories. Just bring it home then. So this is the story of when I dated an ocelot. For those of you who aren't up on your zoology, perhaps, an ocelot is the smallest member of the large cat kingdom. Is that a kingdom? Is that a phylum? I'm not sure. You know, you have your large cats and you have your domestic house cats, and the ocelot sort of bridges that gap in a might eviscerate you and don't pet it sort of way. But it's still kind of adorable and, you know, maxes out at like 25 or 30 pounds. Has black spots, kind of looks like a tiny cheetah. And you really want to pet it. They're sort of adorable. I wouldn't suggest it. Her name was Layla. And I met her in the most wonderful of ways. Her brother introduced us. It's a great way, and he said, Nathan, I know someone you need to meet. And he set us up, and it was this kind of thing we haven't heard much about this evening that I thought maybe we'd hear a lot about. It was one of those moments where you meet someone and you talk with them and the evening unfolds, and the whole time you keep waiting for it to kind of go sour, go the way these things always go, but it keeps getting better and better, and you're at the end of the evening and it's time to go home, and you're just enraptured in that other person and looking into their eyes and seeing the same eyes look back at you, and you're just thinking, I didn't think this actually happened. I thought that was just the thing that happened in the movies, and certainly not to me. And, you know, there it was. And we dated a while, and I got to know her more and more, and it continued to be sort of this kind of transcendent connection. And again, in that unbelievable way where you send these little adorable text messages to say, oh, are you for real? Did that happen? Oh my gosh. And you know, you're saying all these things that are probably embarrassing to admit on stage. And it took me a while. It wasn't immediately apparent in that connection we shared, which was very real, that she was in a cult. And it took me, you know, and I think part of it is people who are in a cult may not know that they are, and you just sort of discover it in pieces, and you kind of put it together here and there, and you start to recognize, you know, she doesn't feel comfortable staying over, maybe because you know, she had some firm religious beliefs, and I knew that and I respected that, but there's this idea that there's this community that she's responsible to that's sort of looking out for her and kind of in a keeping tabs on her sort of way, and there's kind of this awkwardness surrounding that, and you sort of learn a little bit more about you know, she was homeschooled, and I mean, I think, I can't remember, I know her brother never went. She may have gone briefly to the high school. I think she was homeschooled all the way through high school and lived around the country at times in her mother's camper with her whole family. Her whole family lived in this camper. It was kind of one of those campers on the bed of a pickup truck. So you can imagine the confines. I think there was one bed that they all shared, and there's all these kind of little details you start picking up on that you think, well, that's odd. And it seemed strange for her to be this very full, kind of amazing person with this real independence and confidence to her. You know, just one of those real people you really connect with, and. You know, it seems strange for her not to maybe have the full awareness that, gosh, that's weird. Or, you know, do you ever question that religion? Not that, you know, well, I see the really have a lot of understanding of your, how ardently you hold these beliefs and those sorts of things, but gosh, there's some weird things going on in your life and your family and your community, and that made it difficult to date. Not being able to eat pizza, that was difficult. That makes it difficult to date. It's really hard. You want to share ice cream with people. And she had a lot of, she worked as a colon hydrotherapist, I think. That was a family business. They started various places around the country. Very odd details you sort of pick up on as but she had very specific eating habits that went, I think, along with her religion, as well as some allergies and things, or things that she believed not to be good for her system. So she wouldn't feed her dog certain foods either. So she tended to make sort of one meal out of ingredients that she believed were healthy and good for the body and soul, and she would share it with the dog. And, very fascinating girl. So in the long run, it didn't work out. But the whole way through, there was kind of that amazing, you know, those three little words. I don't think we ever said them, but you didn't need to, because, I mean, we knew it was too soon. We knew we couldn't just come right out and say that, but it was there in her eyes, and, gosh, amazing connection. So she moved to Missouri, middle of nowhere, with her mother to start some sort of compound again. And really to go to college, but I sort of knew that wouldn't happen. So she did that. And then we'd broken up before then, but we still stayed in touch. And I worried about her sometimes, because I knew who she was, and I knew how torn she was. Anyways, there's a couple different stories I'm telling here. And so let me get to the last part, where she does start this new life, and eventually she does go to college, which I just really felt for her. This is where she needs to be. This is a great place for her. And when you go to college and you're a freshman, she missed that when she was helping out her family and the cult. So she was going back to college for the first time. She was maybe 26, 27 at this point, several years ago. You were a freshman in a class of freshmen, and you studied geology, and there are boys that study geology, and she met some of these boys, and she began to date one of them. And I thought, well, that is fantastic, and I nudged her a little bit about the age of the boys, and she said, yes, I know. And so look at that from the other side. There's this idea that you're a 19-year-old freshman male, and you've sort of bagged this hot 27-year-old freshman geology major, and I think that kind of makes you strut around campus a little bit. And their relationship progressed, and they, I think, started to have some of that connection that we had, and we could talk real openly about this, and I was truly happy for her. But at some point, that conversation would turn to this idea of, said, Layla, there's a name for that. And it's something they had discussed, and they had decided, yes, you're a cougar. We laughed about that, and she laughed about that, knowing her as well as I did. And I thought, well, there's a problem with this story. I know you're not a cougar, and they know you're not a cougar. Because the definition, for those of you who are not zoology proficient, again, and need the refresher, a cougar is an older woman who pursues younger men. But I don't think you can be a cougar if you're not having sex with these younger men. And so we decided, I think you're an ocelot.